Hey guys, welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. My name is Nick. It's Tuesday, it's time to talk about some new releases. So this Friday, September 9th, we have well over 500 albums coming out. So it's a big list coming out this week. I've got so many albums, I've got to actually split this episode into two parts just because there's so many of them. I got over 20 albums I'm going to talk about. I think there's 24 or 25 total albums I'm going to talk about today. So, like I said, I'm going to split this up, be like 12 or so in the first half, 12 or so in the second half, just because if I put it all together, it'd be a 25-minute long video. So, unfortunately, like I said, I'll have to split it up and break it into two pieces, something I've never had to do before, but there's just so much stuff coming out this week, I couldn't really cut it from the list. There's a bunch of links down below. Make sure you go check them out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music weekly playlist that we put together, and also the Patreon page. So make sure you go check all that out. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. Like I said in the intro, well over 500 albums coming out this week, so it's a huge list. And unfortunately, for the first time ever, I'm going to have to break this video up into two parts, just because that's going to be way too long. I will say that of the 24 or 25 albums that I'm going to talk about today in both videos combined, if there's something I don't talk about, make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what else is coming out. Especially with a list this big, there always tends to be something that I kind of miss when I go over it. I'll also say that if you're not able to find any of these or something in particular in your local record store, in the show notes down below, I'll drop links to everything. Everything's available on Amazon, so you'll at least be able to pick it up on there. So first on the list this week, this is Bad Religion Generator. This was originally released back in 1992, and this is the 30th anniversary release of this album that they're doing. Generator was their sixth studio album, and the odd thing about this album is it was delayed for almost an entire year because the band didn't like the original artwork. I've never seen what the original artwork was of this album, but I'm assuming what they ended up with was what they liked. But Bad Religion is one of those punk bands that I've definitely gotten more into over the last probably 3 or 4 years. I don't know why, I just never really listened to them prior to that, even though I'm a big punk fan. So definitely looking forward to that, because that is a really good album. It's going to run you $27 online, so not a terrible price. And then this week you've also got the new album from Flogging Molly coming out. This is Anthem. This is Flogging Molly's 7th studio album, and this is their first album on Rise Records. So, Flogging Molly is like Bad Religion, is one of those bands that I've gotten more into over the last couple of years. Actually, I just saw Flogging Molly back in 2019. Saw them open for Social Distortion. It's a fantastic show. They're definitely a great band to check out if you're not familiar with their music. It's going to run you $24 online, so not a bad price either. The next album is from a band that I thought I would never actually talk about on the show, but this is the new album. I guess it was new. It just came out back in July, but this is the new album Masquerade from Bananarama. Bananarama, they were kind of big back in the mid part of the 80s. This is their 12th studio album, and this is the first time it's been released on vinyl. Like I said, it just came out back in July. This is actually supposed to only be an EP that they're going to release. And there's two versions available. There's a red version, a black version. They're both going to run you about $30 online. Like I said, this was supposed to only be an EP, and then everything kind of got locked down over in 2020, and they decided to kind of stretch it out and do a full length album out of it. So like I said, I'll stream it. I'm not a big Bananarama fan. I probably only name, I think, 2 songs that I can think of even off the top of my head. But I'll at least stream that one, check it out. And then this week you've also got Volta from Bjork being released. This was her 2007 album. It was her 6th studio album. And this is her only album to actually chart in the Billboard Top 200 here in the U.S. So I think I've only listened to, her first 2 or 3 albums. So I definitely need to check that one out. It's only going to run about $20 online, so not a bad price. I will say that a lot of the stuff lately on these new release videos, I've been noticing more and more albums in the, mid to high 20s, maybe low 30s. So it's definitely a good thing to see, especially since so many releases over the last year or two have been, really kind of creeping up into the $40, $50, $60 range. There are a couple of big jazz releases coming out this week. I've definitely gotten more and more into jazz over the last probably 4 or 5 years. I already have both of these, so I'm going to pass on both of them. But both of them are great albums if you want to check them out. The first one, this is Charles Mingus. This is original release back in 1959. And it's on transparent yellow vinyl. It's going to run you about $34 online. It's not terribly priced, I guess. But I will say that both of these are from a label called Second, which I'm not really familiar with. So I'm not really sure about quality or anything really behind the label, but it is going to be available. So I guess if you're interested, definitely check that one out. You also got Dave Brubeck Quartet Timeout being released this week. This was originally released also back in 1959. And the cool thing is about this album, this was the first jazz album to hit 1 million albums sold. So that's kind of cool. And I don't remember what track off of this album, but there's also a track on here that also became the first single to hit 1 million sold. So definitely kind of a cool thing about that album. It's a great album. I've loved it for a really long time. It says it's on olive marble. I don't know what olive marble vinyl looks like. I haven't seen a mock-up of it, but this one's going to run you about $40. So it's a little bit more expensive than the Charles Mingus album, but both of them are both fantastic albums. Over the last couple of months, Glenn Danzig has reissued several of his albums. And you've got another one coming out this week. This is Skeletons. This was originally released back in 2015. It was a 10th studio album. It's going to run you about $23 online. I've streamed it a couple of times. I'm not a huge fan of this album, even though I do love a lot of Glenn stuff. The kind of the odd thing about Skeletons is it's an all covers album. So it's tracks from, I think it was the 60s through the 80s. That he's got covers of on here. It is what it is. It's like I said, $23. So it's not a terrible price. But the cool thing is about at least with the album cover is, it's kind of an homage to pinups from David Bowie released back in '73. So I didn't really know that until probably a year or two back when I saw this in the store and it kind of put 2 and 2 together. But if you look at the cover of it, it really does kind of look like that pinups cover. This week you've also got Straight Up Suicide by Das Effects being released. This was their second studio album, was released back in 1993, and this is a limited edition silver vinyl. It is a music on vinyl release, and I will bring that up just because, first off, music on vinyl does a lot of great stuff, but sometimes their albums can be kind of hard to get over here in the U.S. I want to say they're Sweden, I think, is where music on vinyl albums are pressed. It's going to run you about $40 online if you can find a copy of it. There are only 2,000 copies of this being made, though, so it might be kind of a harder album to grab. This week you also got Faith No More's album Soul Invictus being reissued. This was originally released back in 2015. It was their 7th studio album. It's running about $26 online, so it's not bad. I will say that Soul Invictus is actually Latin for unconquered sun, if you don't speak Latin out there. But this was their first studio album since 1997, so they got a long break there in between albums. I've listened to this album a couple of times. I've streamed it, but I'm not a huge fan. But for $26, it's not a bad album to pick up. And then also this week you got Imagine Dragons, Night Visions being released. This is the 10th anniversary edition of this album. It was originally released back in 2012. And this is a 2 LP expanded version. And this expanded edition has 9 additional studio tracks and 2 unreleased tracks. So I guess the 2 unreleased tracks are demos. So I'm not really sure what you're getting there. I'm not a huge fan. I've got a couple of their albums just because one of my kids was I don't even know if they are a fan of them anymore. But for a while they were an Imagine Dragons fan. But it's going to run you $34 online, so I don't think it's a bad price for what you're getting there. This week you've also got Jude, the new album from Julian Lennon, being released. I can honestly say I don't think I've ever listened to any of Julian's music. I'm much more familiar with his half-brother Sean's music, especially the stuff that Sean did with Les Claypool, with the Claypool Lennon Delirium. But this is Julian's 7th studio album, and the title Jude obviously is a reference to the Beatles song Hey Jude, which was actually written about Julian Lennon. So that's definitely kind of cool. For $23, I'll probably pick that one up just to kind of check it out because I'm definitely interested, to at least hear it. This week you've also got Lars Frederiksen and the Bastards. This is Live and Loud. This is actually a live album back from spring of 2001. Apparently it was, completely lost until just not too long ago. If you're unfamiliar with Lars Frederiksen and the Bastards, they only released 2 albums in the early part of the 2000s. It's definitely a little bit different than what Lars did with Rancid, but it's actually really good music. And all the live tracks on here were all off of their first album. Their second album didn't come out until after this concert, but it's not a bad price. $19 online for a live album. It's got Lars. I'm sure it's got a lot of energy and a lot of fun stuff that he did during the show. So it's definitely, I'll definitely check that one out also. So we're halfway through the list. I'm going to kind of cut it off right there. I don't want this video to be super long. I did one, probably a month or so back where we ended up running well over 20 minutes just because how long the list was. But so I'm going to pick up and do a second part of the list for this week, just because there's so many titles. But there's over 500 coming out. I'm going to talk about 24, 25 albums altogether. But make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you guys are looking forward to. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.